They thought they had you figured out, didn't they? They thought they could tear you apart, piece by piece, chip away at your soul, break you down until there was nothing left. They wanted to see you broken, weak, and defeated. They thought it was inevitable. They thought they could break you with their words, their actions, their cruelty. They thought they could watch you crumble under the weight of their attacks, under the weight of their lies. But here's the thing about people like them. They're not as clever as they think. They don't see the fire that burns inside you. They don't understand that you're not someone who can just be knocked down and kept there. No, you're not just a victim, you're a force. They tried to break you, and in the process, they gave you the fuel to rise. The harder they pushed, the stronger you became. They never saw it coming. They never understood that every time they tried to take you down, they were only building your strength. They thought they had the upper hand, but they were just setting the stage for your comeback. They never realized that you weren't going to stay down. You were never going to stay broken. They thought you would fold. They thought you'd give in. But what they didn't know is that you don't break, you don't bend, you rise. And you rise higher than they could ever imagine. When they tore you down, when they laughed at you, when they thought they had crushed your spirit, what they didn't understand is that they were only sharpening your will. Every insult, every betrayal, every attempt to humiliate you, it wasn't defeat, it was training. They didn't break you, they forged you. And now look at you. You've come back, not just as strong as you were before, but stronger. You've taken everything they threw at you and turned it into power. You've taken every moment of weakness and turned it into a weapon. They thought you were done. They thought they could bury you. They thought you would just vanish into the background, forgotten, defeated. But you're standing here now, more powerful than they ever imagined. The joke's on them. They didn't break you. They didn't destroy you. They made you unstoppable. Think about it. What did they think was going to happen? Did they think their cruelty would be the end of you? Did they think that all those punches, those insults, would crush your spirit and leave you powerless? They were wrong. Every time they knocked you down, you got back up. Every time they tried to silence you, you found your voice. Every time they tried to break you, you became more unshakable. And now they're the ones who are left wondering how you're still standing, how you came back from the ashes. They thought you were weak, but now they see you for what you truly are, unstoppable. You see, the thing about people who try to break others is that they think they're in control. They think they're the ones holding all the cards, but they never realize that in trying to tear someone down, they're only creating the conditions for a stronger, more determined version of that person to rise. They thought you were their plaything, their punching bag. They thought they could break you, shatter your will, and watch you crumble. But all they did was make you into something they can't control. Now look at them. Where are they? Still in the same place, still stuck in their arrogance, still underestimating you. And you're soaring. You've turned everything they did to hurt you into the very thing that's propelling you forward. You're no longer the person they laughed at. You're no longer the one they thought they could control. You're the one in control. Now you've taken your power back. You've taken their attempts to destroy you and used it to build your empire. They wanted to break you. They wanted to see you fail. They wanted to see you in pieces, defeated and crushed. But they couldn't do it. You didn't stay broken, you came back, and now you're unstoppable. Every attack, every insult, every attempt to push you down only made you more powerful. They thought they could shatter you, but they didn't realize that you were unbreakable. You were always unbreakable. And now it's time for them to see that. It's time for them to realize that they were never in control of you. They thought they could get away with it. They thought their cruelty would have no consequences. They thought they could hurt you and walk away without a second thought. But what they didn't know, what they never saw coming, is that you're not the type of person who stays down. You're the type of person who gets up. You're the type of person who comes back stronger. And now the tables have turned. Now it's your turn to rise. Your turn to take the control. They thought they had you were never broken. You were never defeated. They wanted you to stay down, but you didn't. And now you're unstoppable. The world doesn't know what hit it, because they thought they could crush you. But all they did was make you stronger. And now there's no stopping you. You've become the very thing they feared. You've become unstoppable, and they'll never see it coming. It's funny, isn't it, how those who seek to destroy you never understand the consequences of their own actions. They thought they had the upper hand. They thought they were pulling the strings, manipulating you, controlling your every move. But they didn't understand something critical. They didn't understand that you are not a puppet. You're the one who wields the strings. You always were. They set out to break you because they couldn't see your strength. They thought you were fragile, an easy target. They thought you could be torn apart by their words, by their actions. They didn't know that they were only adding fuel to a fire they couldn't put out. Every push, every shove, every attempt to see you crumble was only building you up, making you stronger, more unbreakable than they ever imagined. They wanted to see you on the ground, defeated, but all they did was set the stage for your rise. They didn't understand that every time they tried to hurt you, every time they tried to break you down, they were actually creating the perfect storm for your comeback. Every single attack they launched only brought you closer to who you are today, a force to be reckoned with. They underestimated you, and in doing so, they gave you the power you needed to rise. They wanted to break you, but what they didn't realize is that they were making the person they feared even more dangerous. Let's be clear, they didn't just push you to your limits, they pushed you beyond them. And in doing so, they awakened something in you that was dormant for far too long. They awakened the beast inside. The more they tried to crush you, the more they tried to break your spirit, the stronger you became. Because you weren't made to stay down, you were made to rise. They thought they had the upper hand, but they were blind to the truth. The truth that your rise was inevitable. You were always going to come back, stronger than before. They underestimated the power of your resilience. They thought they could break you with a few hits, with a few harsh words, a few actions meant to destroy your confidence. But they didn't know that it wasn't the hits that would break you, it was the hits that would build you. And when you stood back up, you didn't just stand, you exploded forward with the kind of force that took them completely by surprise. They thought they had a handle on you, but you were never theirs to control. You were always the one with the power. You just needed to remember it. You were never broken, and they'll never understand that. They'll never understand that every time they came for you, they were only fueling your fire. The harder they pushed, the more determined you became. Every insult, every betrayal, every attempt to make you feel small was just another piece of the puzzle that would bring them to their knees. They thought they could break you, but instead they built the foundation for your victory. Now look at them. They thought you would fall apart, they thought you'd stay down. But here you are, standing tall, stronger than ever before. They thought you were weak, but you've proven them wrong in every possible way. They wanted to see you broken, but what they didn't realize is that you were always unbreakable. And now they're the ones who are left in the dust, trying to pick up the pieces of their own shattered ego. They wanted you to fail, but you've done the opposite. You've turned every attempt to destroy you into the very thing that's making you unstoppable. You've become something they can't control. You've become something they can't even begin to understand. They wanted to see you crumble. They wanted to see you break, but instead they're watching as you rise from the ashes, as you soar higher than they ever imagined. They underestimated you, and that was their biggest mistake. Because when they pushed you, when they tried to break you, they gave you the power to break free. Now they don't know what to do with you. They never thought you'd make it this far. They never thought you'd get up. They never thought you'd come back stronger. But you've proven them wrong, over and over again, and now you've become something unstoppable. You've become the very thing they feared. They thought they could break you. They thought they could bring you down. But now they're witnessing something far more terrifying than they ever imagined. You're stronger than they ever could have dreamed, and you're just getting started. They wanted you broken, but what they got instead was someone who's ready to take over the world. They wanted to silence you, but you found your voice. You found your power. You found your strength. And now there's no stopping you. You came back, not just unbroken, but unstoppable. And the best part, they're too late to do anything about it. They thought they could bury you, didn't they? Thought they could break your spirit, tear apart every ounce of your strength. They believed that by attacking you, isolating you, humiliating you, they could turn you into nothing. They wanted you broken, defeated, crushed beneath the weight of their cruelty. But what they failed to see, what they never understood, is that you were never meant to be their victim. They never realized that they were simply pushing you into your own power, forcing you to rise up and become something far more dangerous than they could ever comprehend. When they tried to make you feel small, when they tried to make you feel worthless, they were only setting the stage for your evolution. They thought they were pulling you down, but they were only lifting you higher. With every insult, with every betrayal, they unknowingly built the person you are today. And now you stand before them, unrecognizable, unstoppable, and untouchable. They never imagined you'd come back like this. They never imagined you'd rise from the ashes, stronger, more determined, and more unbreakable than ever before. They thought they could break you down, tear you apart, but in the end, all they did was make you a force that can't be stopped. Every ounce of their cruelty was like the fuel that powers the engine of your revenge. They thought they could crush you, but instead they created a beast that would come back to haunt them. Think about it. Every time they thought they had you, every time they thought they saw your weakness, they were wrong. You were never weak. You were always gathering strength, learning from every fall, growing from every failure. You weren't just taking punches, you were learning how to strike back. They tried to tear you down, but all they did was make you sharper, stronger, and more dangerous. And now they have no idea what's coming. You see, the thing they didn't understand is that you don't stay down. You never stay down. When they thought you were finished, when they thought they'd finally broken you, you got back up, not just to stand, but to strike. They thought you were a joke, something they could easily dispose of, but they didn't realize you were a storm waiting to happen. You were always just one spark away from igniting, from coming back with a fury that would take them all down. Now when they look at you, they see something they never expected. They see someone who has taken everything they've thrown at them and turned it into raw power. They see someone who has learned from every wound, every scar, every attempt to break them and turned it into something unstoppable. They wanted you broken, but what they got was a force that cannot be contained, a person who is only growing stronger with every challenge, every hardship. They thought they were playing a game they controlled, but what they didn't realize is that you were always playing your own game. They were just pawns in your grand design. Every move they made, every effort to bring you down was just part of the plan. They thought they were breaking you, but they were only helping you break free. They were too blinded by their own arrogance to see it. And now here you are. You've become the master of your own fate, the ruler of your own destiny. You've risen from the ashes of their destruction, stronger and more unstoppable than ever. They wanted you broken, but what they didn't know is that your strength doesn't come from the absence of pain. It comes from the very heart of that pain. It comes from the lessons learned in the struggle. It comes from the resilience you've built, piece by piece, every time you refused to stay down. And now they can only watch as you rise above them. They thought they were the ones in control, but they were nothing more than puppets in a game you were always meant to win. Every action they took to destroy you only pushed you closer to your destiny. They wanted to break you, but instead they fueled the fire that's burning inside you. And now there's no stopping it. Now it's your time. It's your moment to show them that they never had control over you. You were always in control. You were always the one who had the power, the strength, the resilience to rise again. And now they have no choice but to watch as you take what is rightfully yours. They wanted to see you fall, but now they're watching you soar. You are unstoppable. You are untouchable. And they are nothing. They are the ones who are defeated. They are the ones who are broken. Because in the end, they didn't just try to break you, they made you stronger, they made you unbreakable. And now the world will see what they could never understand. You were never the joke, you were always the punchline. And now the joke's on them. They wanted you broken, but what they got instead was someone who will never stop rising, never stop fighting, never stop winning. And there's nothing they can do to change that. And now, as the dust settles, as the noise fades into silence, you realize something important. You didn't just survive what they threw at you. You didn't just endure their attacks. No, you did something far greater. You thrived. You emerged from the storm, not as someone who merely survived, but as someone who has mastered the storm. You've become the very thing they feared. Someone who rises stronger with each hit, each blow, each word meant to break you. The thing is, they wanted to see you crumble. They thought that they could shatter your will, break your spirit, and watch you disappear into the shadows, forgotten. They assumed that with enough pressure, you would buckle under the weight of their hate, their lies, their attempts to destroy you. But they didn't know you. They didn't know that you weren't made of the things they could break. You weren't made of weakness, of fear, or of doubt. You were made of resilience. You were made of strength that grows with every attempt to crush it. Every word they said to tear you down, every action meant to humiliate you, every moment they thought they had you in their grasp, all it did was make you stronger. They thought they could keep you on the ground. They thought they could trap you in the darkness. But what they didn't realize is that you've always had the light inside you. And now, that light is blinding. Think about everything they've tried to do to you. The insults, the betrayals, the endless attacks. All those times they thought they'd finally broken you. You took each of those blows, absorbed the pain, and turned it into the very thing that drives you forward. Every time they thought they had you, you got back up. Every time they pushed you down, you pushed back harder. You've turned every attempt to destroy you into the motivation to rise, to fight, to become more unstoppable than you ever were before. They never saw it coming. They thought they could control you, break you, put you in a place where you had no choice but to give up. But all they did was awaken something in you, a fire, a power, a hunger to prove them wrong. And now look at you. You're standing tall, you're standing stronger, you're standing with a power they can't touch, can't understand, and can't defeat. They tried to break you. They wanted to see you fold, to see you fall apart. They thought they could strip away everything that made you who you are, but they underestimated you. They never realized that you weren't just going to bounce back. You were going to come back so much stronger than before. You weren't going to be their punching bag. You weren't going to be their victim. You were going to be the one who rises above it all and shows them that they were never in control. You were always in control. Every time they pushed, every time they attacked, they thought they were breaking you. But all they were doing was helping you become the person you were always meant to be, the person who stands tall in the face of adversity, who rises no matter how hard they try to push you down. And now they are the ones who are powerless. They are the ones who are broken. It's not about revenge. It's not about proving them wrong. It's about proving to yourself that you are unbreakable. It's about showing the world that no matter what they throw at you, you will always rise. You will always come back stronger, more unshakable, more unstoppable. And the best part, they'll never understand it. They'll never see it coming. Because in their minds, they thought they were the ones who had the power. They thought they were the ones who could control your fate. But you're the one who controls the narrative now. You're the one who's writing your own story, and it's a story they will never forget. Because when they thought they could break you, when they thought they could destroy you, all they did was create the unstoppable force you are today. They wanted you broken, but they didn't break you, they made you stronger. They made you rise, and now you're more powerful than they could ever imagine. So go ahead, walk through the world knowing that you've been tested, that you've been pushed to the edge, that you've been broken down and built up again. But the most important thing is this: you are not who they thought you would be. You are not broken. You are unstoppable. And they're just a distant memory in your rearview mirror. Because nothing in this world can break someone who has already broken free. You came back unstoppable, and there's nothing they can do about it. Make sure to like and subscribe and tell the Batman I say hi.